intro over. Getting some hate on the intro at the moment, so I thought I'd play the whole thing. It's Nick. I'm coming back at you guys, as you've probably seen by the thumbnail that led you to this video, with a brand new theory on the Zelda franchise, which it really just came to me today. I haven't scripted this, we're going to be running with it, but I was playing Breath of the Wild again, and something stuck out at me and made me think of this, and it's probably also, spoilers if you haven't seen Joker, but it's probably inspired a little bit by the Joker film that came out earlier this month as well. So let's just roll with this, and hopefully you can see where this idea just suddenly came from. So the theory, you've seen the thumbnail, is Ganondorf is Zelda's brother. Rip me apart in the comments if you want, but it just jumped out at me, and I think this could be it. You know, this could be a legitimate theory. Let's roll back to Ocarina of Time, where we first were introduced to Ganondorf, the character, and also a little bit more of his culture, being Gerudo, and how the Gerudo procreate. So obviously Ganondorf is king of the Gerudos. He's the first male heir to appear in the bloodline in 100 years. I don't know whether they do the Spartan thing of killing off anyone who's unworthy, or if they're just, there's some magical element to it that they just can't conceive a male unless it's been 100 years and it happens under a certain situation, like maybe a blood moon of some kind, and then boom, you got yourself a male heir. But to create those, the mummy Gerudos go over to Hyrule Castle, and this is alluded to by one of the castle folk in Castletown, saying that I think you have to wear the Gerudo mask and talk to them, and they tell you that the Gerudo sneak into town and have it off with the males of the town. Okay, it was actually a gossip stone, but I'm not going to do the whole trading quest just to get the Mask of Truth and prove it to you. Here's this screen dump from Zelda Dungeon or Zelda Wiki or something. This proves it for you. Back to the show. So let's look at our boy Ganondorf. What we know about him is that he's a Gerudo descendant, he was the king of the Gerudo, and that he has two aunts, Twin Rover, obviously on his mother's side, right, because we don't know who his father is, but we don't know who his mother is either. We just know that he has two aunts, and he's from a potentially magical background. So his mother is related to Twin Rover, and she would have had to make the pilgrimage to Hyrule Castletown to find a male to be that component of that equation to make Ganondorf. Who do we know who would be living in Castletown? Well, there is the King of Hyrule. If we look at the King of Hyrule, in every depiction in Zelda games, he's always a much older man, an old white guy with a beard, and much older than Princess Zelda. In Ocarina of Time, we don't actually have that visual of the King of Hyrule, so there is speculation here that I'm just going with what we see with King Roam, in Breath of the Wild, I think that's his name, and the King of Red Lions as well, whatever his name was, as well as in the original Zelda, where you see the depiction of him in the instruction booklet. And who could forget King Deltas from Minish Cap? I certainly didn't. Going by that trend, I'm willing to bet that the king that we would have seen if they had made a avatar for him in Ocarina of Time would have looked something like that. So generally he's a lot more senior, a geriatric almost, compared to his daughter Zelda, who's normally a teen or a young adult. Going by that logic, speculating that he could have been a much older person, there is a possible gap in time where he was young enough to have, prior to meeting the then Queen of Hyrule, who was Zelda's mother, that he could have possibly met a Gerudo travelling in disguise to seduce a male, and they could have had a night of passion. That then created Ganondorf. That's the easy part to speculate around, but the impact of, if that is true, is much more exciting around the pre-story to Ocarina of Time. We all know that there was a civil war, and that Ganondorf was a part of that civil war because he chased Link's mother into the woods and tried to kill her and blah blah blah, and then Link was born in the woods and looked after by the Deku Tree, and then we had the events of Ocarina of Time. We know that Ganon was a factor in that civil war. We don't know exactly what it was. People believe that it was between the Sheikah and the Gerudo, or something to that effect, which is hinted at in the Shadow Temple. We'll come back to that story, or that quote from the Shadow Temple in a moment. We'll focus on the implications of if Ganondorf was King Roam's son. I realise I just said King Roam's son. I did mention I didn't script this video at all. I just, at this point, meant the King of Hyrule in Ocarina of Time, so don't at me in the comments, alright? I'm just trying to make a video here. So if Ganondorf was King Roam's son, he may have been the one that led the Civil War because he felt that maybe he knew the truth, maybe his mother revealed it to him before she disappeared from the story, but perhaps she somehow revealed to him who his true father was, and he felt entitled to that throne. That was the driving force that pulled him out of the desert, away from his people, and decided to take it upon himself to reclaim his birthright, because at that point, Zelda wouldn't have even been born. She may have been conceived, the mother might have been with child, and he might have seen that as a threat to what he was potentially working diplomatically towards, and he decided it was time for him to take that step forward and actually take his rightful place as the King of Hyrule. It's getting a little bit Game of Thronesy, but I think it's a really exciting element to consider that he might have actually been more entitled to throw that war upon Hyrule than just being your generic bad guy. The reason why I came up with this theory, and it's going to sound really dumb, it's the nose of the King of Hyrule in Breath of the Wild. I know way back when we didn't really know who this old man was. People were speculating that he could have been Ganondorf because of his schnoz. And, you know, I was one of those people. I believed he could have been a form of Ganondorf, which would have been an exciting element. So I know this is grasping at straws. We've got the nose of the king in Breath of the Wild, which admittedly is thousands of years later. His skin tone to a certain extent is a little bit more tinted. It's not green like Ganondorf's, but it is a little bit darker. And then we also have the lore of how the Gerudos conceive is by going into Hyrule Castletown. If you look at the age of Ganondorf, he's probably somewhere anywhere between his 40, mid to late 40s to even possibly his early 30s, with his receding hairline. It happens to some of us. So he could potentially be the right age gap if we look at the King of Hyrule being in his 50s to 60s at the time of the main story taking place. There's also the intriguing quote from the Shadow Temple that I mentioned earlier. "Here is gathered Hyrule's bloody history of greed and hatred." To me it sounds like the Sheikah have potentially recorded here the history of the Civil War of Hyrule, which, if you look at the games in the Zelda series, the Civil War alluded to in the beginning of the Ocarina of Time storyline is probably the most bloodiest conflict that has been seen so far. And the Sheikah, being the secret keepers of the royal family of Hyrule, probably knew all about the lineage of Ganondorf. So potentially somewhere within the Shadow Temple there is some sort of record, some parchment or scroll that tells the tale of Ganondorf and his true lineage, which was being protected from the people of Hyrule and potentially even the king himself. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's pretty cool to speculate on. Those are the main reasons why I think this theory has some weight. That and the fact that Ganondorf has some magic ability and has some affinity with the Triforce. He knows a lot about the Triforce, which is meant to be a secret kept by the royal family, so maybe there was some gleaning there. Maybe the king revealed some of that to his former lover and she revealed that to him, and that's why he knew how he would be able to finally win the Civil War was by taking the Triforce and wishing that Hyrule was his. There are a lot of things there that make this theory very exciting for me, even though it's quite a new one and I'm still kind of developing my ideas. I just wanted to get it out there so that people could start spitballing and giving their 2 cents. So I'd love to see what you guys think about this in the comments down below, and also how this might impact on Breath of the Wild 2, because Breath of the Wild 2 does have Ganondorf. Well, they've pretty much all but said that it is Ganondorf reappearing at this point. And the interesting thing about that is that Link and Zelda throughout the series are pretty much all reincarnations. Are clean slates that just carry a few of the traits or the looks, the name, obviously. Ganondorf throughout the whole series has always been the same incarnation, a reincarnation of Demise. So it'll be interesting to see if we're going to get a bit more depth to the character, if that aspect of the story or whatever his link to the royal family is. We can see that at the beginning of Ocarina of Time he's working on the diplomatic route, he's building an alliance. Maybe at that point that was happening, the king wasn't even aware that Ganondorf was his son, and that was going to be the piece, that he revealed right before he backstabbed him and tried to usurp the kingdom. Seeing that side of things would be really interesting, because that's obviously part of the past of Breath of the Wild, and we'll get that in the next 1 or 2 years, which will be fun to see. Anyway, this has been the theory. I know this has been a pretty short video. I just wanted to chuck it out there, see what you guys think. That's it from me. next video coming up is going to be a Mandela Madness one. So, what year is it? I'm doing Zelda Theories of Mandela Madness again. It's been a while, but we're getting back to it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.